imaginary and complex numbers. So here it says you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So yesterday when we were taking the square roots, none of them were negative. In this lesson they are going to be negative, but you can't just take a square root of a negative number. So they made up this thing called an imaginary number. An imaginary number is I. And here is a couple examples. So I is equal to the negative 1, like the square root of negative 1. And then I squared, which since I equals the square root of negative 1, I squared would be square root of negative 1 times square root of negative 1. So therefore that would just be negative 1. Okay, I'm going to skip the chart for right now because I don't want to confuse you. I'll show you the chart when we get to those types of problems. But for number 1, we're just continuing on what we did yesterday. The only difference is we have a negative number in the square root. So we're going to break up 8 just like we did yesterday, but in addition, we're also going to have a factor that's square root of negative 1 times, and then I'm going to break up 8 as in square root of 4 times square root of 2. What is it?
So wait, you just took away the negative because that set that as a separate thing as negative 1.
Yeah. So then my square root of negative 1 is I. And then square root of 4 is 2. And then we just leave this one at square root of 2.
Will I always be square root of negative 1?
Yeah, square root of negative 1 is I. Okay, so then once we have it all like this, then I'm just going to rewrite it in a better format, just like this. 2i square root of 2.
So square root of negative 2, for example, would be 2i?
No, it would be I square root of 2. Okay, just let it sink in. I'm going to go slowly through this. So number 2, we're going to break up 32 just like yesterday, but we're also going to add a factor that's square root of negative 1. And then breaking up 32, there's different ways to do it. I'm going to do 16 and 2 because I know I can take the square root of 16.
Oh, my question was wrong. It's never going to be negative 2, right? It's always going to be square root.
You're confusing me at this point. I don't know. Just let me teach what's on the paper, and we'll take it from there. Okay. So from here, square root of negative 1 is I. Square root of 16 is 4, and then square root of 2. So this would be 4i square root of 2. Good? Okay, so now these two problems we're going to need this chart. So I to the square root of 7, I'm going to write it out. So I raised to the power of 7 would be 7i. So negative 1 times square root of 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 negative 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So in simplifying this, square root of negative 1 times square root of negative 1 is going to be negative 1. So cross this out. I have negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times, and I can't do anything with this, so I'm just going to leave it at square root of negative 1. Then negative 1 times negative 1 would be positive 1, times another negative 1 would be just negative 1 square root of negative 1, which square root of negative 1 is I, so just negative 1i is your answer. Now you might be thinking, okay, now what the heck do we do with 24? Do we write that all out?
Yes.
You could. Like, here's the thing with rules, like with tricks or shortcuts, like a lot of times you'll forget the tricks or shortcuts, and sometimes you have to resort back to the concept. So it's always best to know the concept, and even if you have to write it out like this on like the SATs or something, at least you can get the right answer. there is a trick or a hack, and that's where the chart comes in. It says that you can actually take the exponent and divide it by 2. So I'm going to show you how that works with the 7. So for 7, I'm going to, I wish I had more room here. Where should I put it? Okay, I'm going to just write small, I guess. Okay, so with 7, I'm going to divide 7 by 2, and I get 3.5. I'll zoom in even further. Okay, so with that 3.5, I look at whether this is odd or even. So this is odd. And this 0.5, I'm considering it a remainder. And so this is where the chart comes in. If it's odd with a remainder, so I'm going odd right here with a remainder, the answer is going to be negative 1i.
So the only answers can be the 1i, 1,
Mhm.
negative 1i, or negative 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you needed to, you could, whoa, sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't there. If you needed to, you could write it all out.
So if this comes up on a test, one of these questions are the 4 answer choices just going to be those 4?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and then for 4, we're not going to write everything out. We're going to use the chart. So we need to take this exponent, divide it by 2. We get 12, which is an even number, and there's no remainder. So even, oh wait, I didn't realize it wasn't in the screen. Okay, so again, 24 divided by 2 is 12. It's even, no remainder. So even, no remainder, the answer is just 1. But the test tomorrow is open note, so you'll be able to use the chart.
Oh yeah, it is open.
Yeah, so you don't have to memorize
In
it.
order to use this, like on the SAT, you'd have to memorize the chart.
Yeah. So that's why it's like,
Is this test gonna be on paper or computer? Like, do we still have to show work or anything?
you'll have to show work, yeah. You could do it. Okay. Anyways, numero cinco. Okay. Now it gets easy from here. 5i plus 6i would just be 11i, and you're done.
Oh,
So that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Well, that's really hard.
Okay.
that was the most complicated one yet.
Then number 6, remember this all builds. So we're going to break up -9, or the square root of -9, and then combine like terms if we can. So this square root of -9 would be square root of -1 times square root of 9 minus 5i. So square root of -1 is I, square root of 9 is 3. Make sure you use order of operations, so you'd multiply this first. And it just comes out to -2i. Yes.
Did you split up the -9 into 2 -3s, or did you have to have the 9 as a positive?
So you got to take the -1 out completely. You can't have a negative in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So did you split it up into 3?
No, I almost did, thinking that
You could, but you couldn't have the -3. Like if you did it that way, like you'd have to still have that -1 separate, and then you'd have 3 times square root of 3 minus 5i. Then you'd have I for this. Square root of 3 times itself will be 3 minus 5i. Then 3i minus 5i is -2i.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
still equals the same.
Yep.
4.
And then number 7, 5 times 8 is 40, and I times I is I squared. You could use your exponent rules if you wanted to.
Wait, does that have to get simplified?
Yes. So this would be times square root of -1 times square root of -1. So 40 times -1 is -40.
Oh, I just spaced off that entire problem.
So stupid. It's just,
That entire problem, I was.
Do you want to do it again?
why does he
No,
make
you're
it
good.
so
I see. I literally was just not.
Okay. So number 8, we're going to try to simplify it as best we can. For the -7, I'm going to split the -1 times 7 times square root of negative 1 times 3. Square root of negative 1 times square root of negative 1 is just going to be negative 1. And square root of 7 times square root of 3 would be square root of 21. So here we just get negative square root of 21.
Is that extra credit thing still available?
Yeah. There'll be a question on tomorrow's test about the video. If you get it right, you get extra credit.
Extra credit.
5 points?
Yep. And subscribe for another 5 points, so
So
10.
if you get an 85 on the
It'll be
test, you
95.
get 90.
95. Well, if you subscribe, you get 5 more. You might as well subscribe.
The best,
Self-plugging.
the best way to build a YouTube channel.
Well, it's already built. It's just like almost there.
Or you're just gonna have like 1,000 subscribers, but like 0
Math
views.
teacher built her TikTok.
No, we already have our watch time. Like, we have like 5,000 watch hours. It's just subscribe us. Yeah.
You can buy like 5,000.
I didn't buy anything. The thing is, then it's not sustainable. Like, it wouldn't. Anyways, you'd have to continue. I see that. Some people buy views, and then you have to keep buying them because otherwise it looks silly because you have like 5,000 views on one and then 5 views on the next. It's like, yeah.
That's not bad. I just consistently
Yeah.
get 5 views.
I don't know. I think YouTube's set to like give you views like every like maybe 10 videos or something. It kind of makes it go like semi-viral just to like give you that like motivation. I don't know.
Semi
I've noticed
for me
that.
is like a whole 30 views. I put like 6 to 8 hours of video editing and then it gets 30 clicks and I'm happy.
You can't just
It takes a long
Yeah, I
time.
plan on making.
Anyways, number 9. We're gonna just break this up. Square root of negative 1 times square root of 5 times square root of 3. That's for the negative 15. Times square root of negative 1. For 45, I'm gonna split it up as 5 and 9 because I know I can do square root of 9. And then I'm going to try to simplify as best I can. Square root of negative 1 times square root of negative 1 is just going to be negative 1. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. Square root of 9 is 3. And then left with this.
Oh, okay. Just had a realization.
Okay, then number 10, it gets easy again. For this one, it's just this plus this. We're going to combine like terms. You would distribute this to both of those if you need to, but with the plus, it doesn't change anybody's sign. So at this point, it's just 9 plus 2i plus 6 plus I, and you combine like terms. 2i plus I is 3i, and 9 plus 6 is 15. And you done, bro. Did I do something wrong? We good? Yes.
On number 9, is that negative 1 always considered to an I?
Oh, why did I do that?
Yeah, I was confused.
I was confused.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it's just supposed to be a negative 15. Sorry. Might be.
Wait, but
Oh, so it's just a negative.
Yeah, it's just negative. I don't know why I wrote I. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't like.
5 times 3 is 15 times everyone.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
No.
The square root of negative 1 as well.
Okay. 11. So for 11, I'm going to distribute this negative to both of these terms and just rewrite it all out.
How come in the last one you did that?
Well, it's a plus, so it just stay the same sign.
Don't shoot me.
Okay. And then combine like terms, negative 8i minus 9.
Times 9. I heard minus 1.
Okay, so for number 12, this is where it brings it all together. We're going to distribute this negative to both of these terms. So 3 plus square root of negative 4 minus 5 plus negative square root of negative 64. Just, we're taking it one step at a time. Okay. Now I'm going to break this stuff up. So I'm actually going to put parentheses around like what I break up. And then here, like I said, this is going to become multiple terms, but it's all negative. So I'm going to put whatever I break up in parentheses. And then from here, now I break it up.
Could you also do square root of 2 times square root of 2?
Yeah, you could.
Are we gonna have a lot of these questions?
No, I think it would just be like evenly. Okay, then from here, this would be I times 2, so 2I.
Is this the answer, or is there gonna be another step?
We're going to have to combine like terms, but yeah.
I forgot so much to write the answer.
Okay, and then this would be I times 8, so 8I. And now 2I minus 8I is negative 6I. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And now we're done.
Finally.
Okay,
Are we gonna have homework tonight?
so there's homework on Schoology, but you